A Portland landlord and real estate developer is giving up on the city after homeless people and government bureaucracy drove him out. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over what happens when there's too much government bureaucracy, okay? And they're soft on crime, ridiculous, far left leaning politics that have prevented landlords, real estate developers, and heck, any business person from being able to operate their businesses in a place like Portland, Oregon, okay? Portland doesn't care about small business owners. And you know what they really care about? They care about tax collections. That's probably what they're trying to focus on. They care about communism. That's the things they're trying to push right now. And the way that this guy, in this story, everything that happens to him, even though he believed in the city, even though he wanted to invest there, and he still had to suffer through all this nonsense, it's wrong. It's just dead wrong. And I don't blame anybody for wanting to get out of there. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. With everything that you've seen going on in Portland within the last few years, right? Would you, if you owned property there, would you just get out? I would. Okay. I mean, they had crazy stuff going on with Antifa. They had crazy riots going on there. They basically allowed open air drug markets on the streets, and homeless people have taken over everything. Okay, their politics have gone too far to the point where normal people can't operate, and so now they're facing declining population, a loss of businesses, etc. Okay, all the bad consequences, all the stuff that I'm always saying is gonna happen if you keep pushing all this nonsense. It's like they don't understand that, hey, businesses, they are the ones that keep the economy rolling in this place. And if you don't provide them police protection and enforce the laws, well, guess what? Things are going to go downhill very, very quickly. So, anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from cat2.com, and it says, Developer pulls out of Portland after 4 decades. What does a property owner do? And this article actually has a video that comes with it, and I'll play that for you right now.
Ask Kevin Howard how he feels about Portland, and his emotions run the gamut. Mostly frustration as he opens the fence to his final slice of the city.
This property was listed in January of 21 for $795,000. Yesterday, we sold it for $412,000.
A big loss, but Kevin says he had nothing left in the tank. This tiny piece of property, a former pizza parlor, has been a nightmare for the past 3 years.
The supposed homeless came in and kicked in the door, the front door, and lived in it. And I waited till they came out and I had to board it up.
But Kevin says that didn't do much. They just broke in again and again, living inside, outside, even in his dumpster enclosure, which they eventually set on fire. And Kevin tells us he got nowhere when he called police.
And I said, well, what does the homeowner do? What does the property owner do? And they said, well, call the Central City Concern. And I said, what'll they do? And they said, well, they'll probably come out and give them a cup of coffee and some hot soup.
All right, you saw the video. Let's get into the article. Ask Kevin Howard how he feels about Portland, and his emotions run the gamut. But he's mostly frustrated as he pushed open the fence to his final slice of the city. This property was listed in January of 2021 for $795,000. Yesterday, we sold it for $412,000, said Howard. A significant loss. But Howard says he had nothing left in the tank. The tiny piece of property off Southeast Powell Boulevard, a former pizza parlor, has been a nightmare for the past 3 years. The supposed homeless came in and kicked in the front door, and lived in it, said Howard. And I waited until they came out, and I had to board it up. So yeah, this guy, he's lost over $350,000 on this one property. Okay? Now everybody, oh yeah, landlords, they blah, 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 they're all rich, etc. Listen, $350,000 is a huge, huge loss. And regardless of how wealthy this guy may or may not be, right? You know that hurt. You know it hurt. Okay? And goodness, like when you think about things like that, all the trouble that he went through with this property that they're going to go through in the story, right? Then you're like, wow, I can't believe that he even thought that it was a good idea to invest in the city in the first place. This is why I'm always telling people, go where you're treated better. Go where, you can be given your property rights. Don't waste your time in a place like Portland where your property rights are slowly being eroded down to nothing. Okay, that is the problem with places like that. But Howard says that didn't do much. They just broke in again and again, living inside and outside, even in his dumpster enclosure, which they eventually set on fire. Howard says he got nowhere when he called the police. I said, well, what does a homeowner do? What does a property owner do? And they said, call Central City Concern, said Howard. I said, what will they do? And they said, well, they'll probably come out and give them a cup of coffee and some hot soup. Howard looked into hiring a security guard, but that was too expensive at roughly $15,000 a month. So he decided to get a fence, but the wait was 4 months. Yeah, so security guard would have been too expensive. I mean, obviously, this is a $795,000 property, so paying 15 grand for a month of security is a lot of money. So he decided to put in this fence, and unfortunately, he had to wait 4 months before it was able to get installed. Okay, so let me continue. I said, why? And they said, because homeowners like mad are fencing their property to keep the drug addicts and the homeless out, said Howard. So the trash piled up, and Howard tried to keep up, but it wasn't enough. Last summer, the city hit him with a nuisance fine of nearly $450. Howard paid the fine. A month later, he got an even bigger bill, the original amount plus a penalty. The city told him they had lost his check, so he paid the bill again, plus the extra $100. So the property's in such bad shape because all these homeless people are in there. The police absolutely will do nothing to help him. He can't get a fence installed because the fence companies are so backed up from people putting fences in that it takes 4 months to get the fence installed. And then the city starts fining him as though it is his fault that the homeless people keep breaking in there and trashing the place, and there's trash everywhere. No, it's not his fault because he called the police and they did absolutely nothing. So now he's stuck with all these homeless people trashing his property, and he's got to pay the city fines on top of that. See, this is a problem with government bureaucracy right there, okay? They care more about collecting their fines and punishing those hardworking people who are actually paying taxes and doing everything right than they do about punishing a bunch of drugged out losers. Okay, and that's a problem, and I don't like that sort of thing. This is why I say don't waste your time in a place like Portland, Oregon. 2 weeks later, they sent me another bill for $639.71, said Howard. I called them up and they said, well, this might be a duplicate bill, but we've already put a lien on your property. The fence was finally installed, and Howard was able to clean up the property and eventually get the lien removed, but the drama dragged on for more than 6 months. I just remember the phrase, the city that works, said Howard. The city that jerks. I mean, how can you be this dysfunctional? Cat2 News reached out to the bureau that fined Howard Development Services. They confirmed there was an error, telling us the issue was resolved and there's no outstanding balance due. We also asked Mayor Ted Wheeler's office for an interview. Wheeler has been vocal about improving livability, reducing taxes and fees, and restoring people's faith in Portland. A spokesperson told us the Bureau of Development Services is not under Mayor Wheeler's portfolio. Commissioner Carmen Rubio's office did not get back to us. Yeah, so this landlord, basically got screwed around for several months trying to get this place cleaned up. And you know what? The frustration, the thousands of dollars lost, the place being trashed, the city fining you, every step you take, it seems like they just want to try to hold you down. They want to keep you, the person, mind you, that is investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into the city, they want to hold you down, and they want to coddle and treat like babies these drug addicts and these homeless people who are breaking into the property and trashing the place. So hey, like I said earlier, there's only one solution, right? And that's to leave, not waste your time there anymore. And that's exactly what this guy did. He's done. Okay, he's done. And there's going to be more landlords and more real estate developers just like him, not to mention business owners.